on this week's episode of the Crushing Debt Podcast, Hack Stories. So welcome back to this week's episode of the Crushing Debt Podcast. My name is Shawn Yesner, owner and founder of Yesner Law, and welcome your financial coach, George Curbelo. How you doing, George?
Shawn, how are you, buddy? I'm doing extremely well. Allergy season seems to be in full swing, and but I feel like in Florida it's always allergy season, so it's like just a new tree or new leaf that seems to get me going. But I'm surviving each day, brother. My
younger son has a real problem with allergies, to the point where we even thought about having him tested, but he has to take a children's chewable allergy pill every morning. Otherwise, his problem is kind of like his dad. He doesn't know how to blow his nose. It took me a while to figure out how to blow my nose. And
Gotcha.
So when he gets all stuffy, when he gets congested from all the pollen and all the garbage and all the allergies, he can't blow it out of his system. And so it just gets stuck in there and it gets infected, and then he gets sinus bugs and fun times.
Oof. No, thank you. No, thank you. I do know how to blow my nose, so I think we've at least got that step down.
I know now.
Oh, that's too funny.
I know how to do it
but
now.
How's it going with you, buddy? How's everything with you?
Good. We're slowly shedding. So soccer season's over. My son did make a competitive team again for next soccer season. Cub Scouts comes to an end here in a couple of weeks. Actually, something really cool that happened. I got a call from the guy who is the head of our Cub Scout pack.
Okay.
And he got a call from the guy that kind of runs the Boy Scouts of America here in the Tampa Bay area, and they wanted to have a fundraiser for the Boy Scouts of America, not necessarily for our pack, just for the overall Tampa Bay Boy Scouts of America. Okay. And they needed like a guest of honor to showcase as the person that they're going to be doing, the person that they want to do the fundraising. The guest of honor, come see this person and help with our fundraising efforts. And they chose me as the president of the HOA.
Well, you're kind of a big deal, so that kind of makes sense.
Yeah, apparently. So in early June, the Boy Scouts of America are hosting a cocktail mixer in my home community.
Nice.
To honor me for my service to the community as president of the HOA, and it's a big fundraising event, and it'll be
nice.
It'll be a lot of fun. We'll have some scouts there to do the flag ceremony at the beginning, and I thought it was really flattering that they wanted to do. I mean, I'm sure there's a billion people out there that are more deserving of recognition than me.
Oh, stop it! Don't downplay, man. It's obviously you do a lot for the club. You do a lot for the community as well. So definitely, it's okay to be in a nice position that says thank you and be that speaker for the day. Now, just don't mess up with
thanks.
Obviously try to have a nice speech out there. But yes, you definitely deserve, my friend. You do a lot for yourself, for the community, for the family itself. So congratulations on the honor. Just don't F it up, so you'll be okay.
Thanks. Don't F it up. And I haven't. I'm not going to talk for very long. I mean, if I talk for any more than 3 or 5 minutes, I'm probably going too long. But my thought process is the theme of what I want to say. I do this stuff really just to be involved in my kids' lives. I mean, that's
it.
That's why I help out with the Cub Scout pack. That's why I coached soccer. That's why I joined the association, was so that I can make a positive impact in the community, because it's where I want my kids to grow up. So, I mean, everything that I'm even BNI and networking and all that kind of stuff, I do that stuff so that I can generate referrals, so that the law firm can continue to grow and thrive, so that I have the money to send my kids to summer camp and send them to soccer and send them to all this other stuff. So,
no, I mean, I got to give you a lot of credit, my friend. I think it's always hard because there's so much things to do, so limited time each day, right? And you make the conscious effort to really be there for the boys, Not that saying that not all parents do that, but we know the importance of work. We understand, the side hustles, the main hustle, everything they need to do to make sure we make money. But we have to remember that it's spending the time. Why do we do it, right? Spending the time with family, wanting to have that time with folks, to be able to have those experiences. It's not always about making the money. It's not always about, the time for ourselves, things like that. So totally appreciate the message, and obviously, keep doing what you're doing, brother, because that's, I want to do that when I grow up one day. I want to be just like you.
Well, speaking of, it is important to make the money, but I think what we're going to talk about today is not necessarily how to keep the money, but how to prevent somebody else from taking the money.
We had episodes in the past about scams, right? So I think this one is really more of like stories, actual stuff. Like we gave you the preventative, right? Look out for these things. What are the red flags? Some of the things to prevent. But we got into the position where like we almost, we can be scammed easily. We can be out there. You have card skimmers that are out there. You go to 7-Eleven thinking that, oh, let me just insert my card and we're good from that standpoint. Not realizing that, I've seen a lot of videos where there's, a lot of card skimmers out there where you would think like that's old school, right? Old school stealing, but yet it's still prevalent when it comes to, because everybody's using cards, it's not cashes.
What I was saying is part of the reason that we came upon this topic is because, I am getting, or my boys are getting benefits from Social Security because of my wife's disability and later passing. Right. And so I've done everything I need to do. I went to the bank. I set up the bank accounts. I went to Social Security. I gave them the information. I logged in online. Social Security now knows that I'm the boys' representative.
Right.
So I've got all of that taken care of. But last week I got in the mail a letter that looks like it is from Social Security. I've gotten a lot of correspondence from Social Security, and this looks exactly like it's from Social Security. And so I got this letter directed to my older son, now which is kind of weird because normally the letters are directed
usually it's parent
to
of
me
but okay.
right?
Yep.
But this one came to him directly, and it says, "Thank you for contacting us for a telephone appointment with our office." I never called Social Security subsequent to getting everything straightened out. I never called Social Security for an appointment. I know my son never called Social Security.
Yeah, I was about to say, is he having some secret conversations with the IRS?
So they said it's for a lump sum death payment, presumably for my wife, because my son is still alive, at least
right
as we record this. I believe he is. And it's
knock on wood, please.
There you go.
Toot toot toot. Come on, brother.
Yeah. And it sets the appointment for today at 11:15. And they're calling my wife's phone, and it says, "What we'll need, please, we need the proof listed below to complete your Social Security claim. Please have those items that you can get easily with you at the time of your appointment. Here's what we will need from you or the person for whom you are applying: bank statement or checkbook for the account where you would like the payments deposited."
Yeah.
Now they've already got that. They've already got that
right.
through the online portal. So, I'll give you credit, George, because, when I brought up that I've got this appointment with Social Security, and you went, "Well, wait a minute, there's a couple of different red flags here." They know my number, so there's no reason for them to be calling my wife's number anymore.
Yeah, that was kind of weird, but okay, let's assume you're right. The last number they had was hers. Okay, I can. A little bit suspicious, but okay, we can move on with that one.
I never contacted them. I know my son never contacted them.
That for me is the hugest red flag in all of this, is that if you did not make the direct contact or make the or did any of that nature, and you're receiving the letter stating that you did, that for me is a huge red flag right there. It's like, okay, why am I receiving this?
Yeah. It's calling about a lump sum death payment where we're getting monthly disability payments.
Yeah, so I mean, not that I've never heard of lump sum benefits from the government when it comes to these things, but I'm not saying that would be the case, but once again, a little suspicious.
Yeah. And then They want my bank account information. Now, interestingly, I went back into the SSA portal before while you and I were talking, and
Yeah.
I know that I've updated the information in the portal, but it apparently is not yet updated in the portal. So
Unfortunately, the government does work at a snail's pace,
yeah,
so that probably will be another 3 months before you'll see it live.
right.
You would think real time, but no, I don't think we pay for that version of the government.
So I think what I'm going to do is call Social Security probably prior to this 11:15 appointment and see if I can get any answers out of them.
I would agree. I think in that kind of instance, if you've never made the phone call, if you've never reached out and you're saying, someone's saying that you have, I think for me, it's get ahead of the situation. If you can make the phone call and see if you can reach someone and state, hey, got this letter, is this legit? It's a valid question to ask. I think that's for sure number one. If you do take the call, I would recommend list it out, see what they're saying, see if it sounds legit. But then even in that conversation, change it where like, hey, you know what? I will reach out to you directly. I'll reach out to the agency directly when I'm ready to have this conversation. Don't give any bank information. Don't give any, there's no need for that, especially if you just are not confident in what the phone call is going to bring.
Yeah, or I was thinking instead of maybe what I could say here is that I've already got the information. It's already in the portal. And so why do I need to give it to somebody over the phone when the information I need is already in the portal? So a couple other ways I'll definitely update. There's George.
Yeah,
I will definitely update everybody here on what happens with the Social Security Administration. So
Yes, please.
next time we record, George, I'll follow up and let everybody know what's going on. Some other things that I thought about just in terms of, stories and what to do. I had a client I'm representing right now. She is being sued by Chase and Discover and another credit card company because somebody took advantage and stole her identity and ran up tens of thousands of dollars in charges. Now, one of them I was able to make go away. So one of them I said, here's all the proof. We didn't make the charges. We didn't get the goods. We didn't do this. We didn't do that. Please, please go away. And they did. The other one is sort of at bay. I think it's Discover is still sort of at bay while they investigate. Chase is being kind of a bear. And Chase's attorneys basically responded to me in the lawsuit and said, well, prove to us a couple things. Prove to us that your client was monitoring her bank statements, her charge card statements. Prove to us that your client had contacted us to complain about those charge card statements.
Right.
Prove to us that your client didn't make the charges. Prove to us your client, now I don't know how you prove a negative, but prove to us your client didn't get the goods that were allegedly purchased. Prove to us this, prove to us that. Now, luckily, this particular client happens to save everything. So she's got notes that say, on blah, blah, blah date, I called and I spoke to blah, 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 and we talked about this and that. And,
Sure.
Whatever letters she sent, and I've got the letters that I've sent. And so I have a good feeling that we're going to be able to make Chase go away because my client legitimately did not purchase any of this stuff. But still, there's been plenty of times where I looked at a charge on a credit card statement or I looked at a charge. There was one recurring payment that was an annual recurring payment. But one year I didn't reconcile that month's payment until like 2 months later. And so that charge had already happened. And by that point, it was 2 months later. There was nothing I could do to make the charge go away. So
monitor your bank statements, really looking into those kind of things. It's amazing even when you're in those situations, right? When you're trying to protect yourself, even if you didn't do the purchase, you have to have the due diligence to make sure that you're staying on top of your finances. And sometimes when we're, maybe in our early get out of debt journey, we don't want to look at our bank statements. We don't know because of what's on that statement. But it is important to kind of monitor any type of charges that if they're not yours, you need to stay on top of those kind of things as well. Because it could be something as little as $3,000. We're always thinking it's going to be the 2000s, right? The $3,000 ones that you're like, oh, that's not me. But sometimes it's those reoccurring for $20 that you let go for months and years.
Yeah, and it's not only that, but it's a lot of times what the scammers will do is they'll hit your account for $2, $3,
Yeah,
$5, $20,
just to see.
just to see if it goes through. And if
Right.
you miss it, then it goes up. And if you miss it, then it goes up. And a lot of times that's how they'll do it as well. Or they'll just buy a lot of little things. So, we're going to buy a lot of purses, but it's a lot of little purses.
Right.
So, I don't know what other
Interesting. I mean, I guess the one that I was going through, again, spoke to a client as well, and the one that the sim hack.
Yeah.
We're thinking like your phone, right? You have your phone. Everything's on our phone, guys. That's our computer. That's what we walk around with. That's everything we have. He was telling me, he was like, all of a sudden his phone, everything's working great, getting phones, texts, all of a sudden it goes to SOS. And it goes into emergency mode. And he was like, what the heck's happening? He took the effort. He's like, let me go to the store, see what's the problem. They go to the store, figure out that someone hacked the phone, basically stole the SIM. It basically went into a basic mode. It's just a phone, only worked if you were connected to Wi-Fi. So he's like, okay, how did this happen? So they give him a new SIM card, trying to figure out what's happening. Okay, great. He thinks the problem is solved. They change the password, blah, blah, blah. Happens again, probably the same day. And he goes back to, again, going back to the store, fixing the issue. Hey, what's the problem? What's happening? They do it again, start changing passwords. Nothing to the accounts. Nothing's happening on the phone. But again, if you have your digital wallet, you have your account information, you have passwords on your phone, now you start getting worried. I would start getting worried from that standpoint. So they fix it again. They change passwords. Happens another time.
Wow.
Then he starts getting alerts. Zelle account created. Zelle recipient created with the bank. Someone's trying to change your password on on the Banco. Oh my! So again, now he's like, what the? He's freaking out.
Right.
Like, what do I do? What's happening? He keeps going back to the store to try to say, it's like, is it the phone? Is it the service? Long story short, they did make an attempt from a Zelle. They did take $2,000.
Wow.
From that standpoint, the bank, obviously there's fraud protection, so that's obviously under investigation. He had to change carriers though, because the only thing that was common with the hack, was that from the carrier he was associated with, it seemed that either someone is working there and doing some shady stuff, or something's connected, they hacked, or something bigger is happening with the carrier that they're working with. So he had to after, I think it was four SIM hacks, finally had to get a new phone, new setup, get everything off of it, but had to then close accounts, close credit cards, digital wallets, change the passwords, 50 different passwords, two-factor authentic. You get the idea.
Oh yeah.
But again, nothing he could have done, right? There was, for us, it's more of like, hey, for me, I learned like, okay, if my phone goes brick and there's an SOS or something on that, I'm running to Sprint, Verizon, AT&T and saying, hey guys, we've got a problem.
Right.
Some of us might just sit on that and just thinking like, oh, something's wrong. I'll just, fix the phone tomorrow. Not a big deal.
I've said to people many times, if these people that do these hacks and these people that try to,
brilliant people.
yeah, if they use their powers for good, how much better would this day be?
I agree. It's amazing, but the scary part is that you feel so vulnerable in those situations. Like, what do you do? Like, I have no control, especially with your phone. You have no control, and that seems to be the lifeline when it comes to to all of us. Now I'm worried. Like, I've got my girls again. And my girls are a little older, 21 and 16, but I'm like, hey guys, just FYI, if this happens with your phone, make sure you turn it off, brick it, whatever you need. Let me know if there's something like that too. And now I'm really scared too to have like digital wallets and things like that at this point, because they just have easy access to that information if they're able to get into the phone. Imagine, think about the stuff you already have on the phone. I'd be nervous, like, geez.
Well, and even in my case, the additional added level of security for attorneys, I've got potentially client information on my phone.
Right. Emails.
Yeah. Although
Things
it was kind of funny. I was joking with some other attorney friends of mine, some other bankruptcy attorney friends of mine, and we were kind of joking about, the client that you say to them, listen, I need your social security number because bankruptcy is based on social security numbers.
Sure,
So I need
sure.
your social in order to file the bankruptcy. And they're like, well, what are you going to do to protect my social security number? Or when we send stuff
Yeah.
to the bankruptcy trustee, we have to redact social security numbers. And
Yep.
there's a little part of me that laughs. It's like, dude, you're in bankruptcy. Who wants your social security number right now?
The bankruptcy lawyer joke here. I get it.
But I get it. We need to keep bankruptcy information. We need to keep social security information.
You have to be.
protected.
No, there's definitely security and obviously privacy. That's part of that. But
nobody's going to take somebody's social security number. It's unlikely that someone will steal your social security number and use it to pay off your debt. And if it's somebody who happens to be in bankruptcy, obviously the irony there is they're probably not going to be getting very much credit if they're in the middle of a bankruptcy. So, a little bit shorter of an episode today, but a couple things going on. So number one, we fixed our mic issues. So I apologize for a couple of weeks ago when the mic issues were pretty bad, but we have fixed the mic issues on the board here. We've got some technical difficulties today, but we'll figure out how to power through today's episode. But I think what I'm going to do is kind of put a bow on today's episode, and to the extent we want to either re-record it or we'll do some editing or we'll maybe do a follow-up episode, whatever, and we can come back to you with the content from today. So before we really end the show, I do want to mention our friend, our longtime sponsor, Sam Cohen. And actually, we got an email today that I'm going to explore a little bit about maybe one of our former sponsors potentially coming back. If you want to support us, another way to do that is through the Patreon site. So patreon.com/crushingdebt. The Purple Stride Walk is over, but we are always still accepting donations. My team raised over $12,000 now after all is said and done. We raised over $12,000 for pancreatic cancer education, research, awareness, all of that kind of stuff. So
that's great.
I actually kind of makes sense. I don't know if you know this, George. Today's episode is episode number 420.
Nice. So I know what I'm doing later then.
Well, and if somebody were to celebrate episode 420 and listen to today's episode, especially after I'm done chopping it up with all these edits, it may make more sense.
So my apologies. I guess I have to pay the internet bill. I think or the Zoom bill. Something's happening here, like technology wise. I'm like, okay, I guess this is normal. But at the same time, I'm like, yeah, it sucks when it happens when you're trying to, have a really good show. So my apologies there, buddy.
That's always a really good show. We're each allowed one bad show every once in a while.
One bad show,
It's
gotcha.
fine. One out of 420 ain't bad. So
yeah. No, but you get you've been doing it for such a long time that so you still haven't hit the one, right? You're still waiting.
So
I've hit the one.
I've hit the one. I may tell a story one day. I may or may not tell a story one day. There was one episode that I recorded that was so bad I never released it.
There's the release tape on the Patreon page. There you go.
No, this will never see the light of day. This episode is locked away like 7 layers deep in Dropbox. Never to see the light of day.
Never say never.
I will tell you offline who
there
and
you
what
go.
it is.
Oh, now my interest, the peak is right there. Peak interest. Let's go.
It's basically, I will say this for the listeners. It was a lady that I recorded way, way early. So I was just desperate for guests, and I was basically taking anybody. And it was a lady that I recorded with way, way, way long ago who was very much one of these natural healing and that kind of stuff. And started making claims that some super powder that she was selling could cure cancer.
Oh yeah. You can't do that. Yeah.
I tried to salvage it, and I'm like, so your thing has been reviewed by doctors, and doctors of whatever Eastern medicine or whatever, and eventually, and I ended up sending it. I ended up sending an episode to a friend of mine, Lee Silverstein, who actually just recently passed away from cancer.
Oh, sorry.
And I sent it to Lee. He was huge in the podcaster community. He had a cancer podcast. He actually had colon cancer. So, quick plug for those of you 45 or older, it's time to
Please
get checked.
get your screening.
Yeah, get your screening done. I did have my colonoscopy, and it's a pretty good sleep. You get a good couple hours of sleep when they knock you out. So, I had Lee listen to it, and he said, "Dude, destroy this episode. Never release it. You will lose all your credibility if you do so." And I haven't really had the guts to hit the delete button, but I did lock I locked the episode away, like literally 7 layers
I've got
deep in
it.
Dropbox.
Now I just want to hear it just to see how much of a train wreck this thing is. That's too good.
So anyway,
that's good.
That will do it for this week's train wreck of an episode.
Train wreck of an episode, but try to stay away from the hacks, right?
There you go.
Be aware. Be aware. That's what we're trying to the message.
If your gut's telling you something, listen to your gut. Do your due diligence. Do some research. Protect yourself. So, outside of that, I will say that we hope you have more month at the end of the money rather than more money at the end of the month. And we will be back next week with another episode of the Crushing Debt Podcast.